How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal, and today we're going to take a look at a racing game, an arcade port of a racing game, that starred a guy that none of us had ever heard of. If you weren't into pro truck racing, you didn't know who Ironman Stewart was. Most of us didn't. First time we saw this man's name was in relationship to this game. But that's fine, because even without his name attached to it, the game was pretty solid. It almost feels like a reskin of sorts of the old Atari arcade game that got ported to the NES by Tengen, Super Sprint. But yet and still, it's the same kind of formula, same control scheme and all that. But it takes a lot of stuff from a game like Super Sprint, and it adds some of the upgrade system from, say, RC Pro-Am, and I want to say it adds a little bit of stuff from Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat, which is a name that I haven't referenced yet, but apparently it's a running joke with a lot of YouTube guys or whatever. But whatever. But this game was, the arcade version came out in 1989. You probably remember seeing it if you're old enough to remember arcades back then. Had a three-player setup and steering wheels and all that. It was pretty cool. The NES version came out in about 1990-91, something like that. And it was published by Tradewest, the Double Dragon people. Today, we're going to take a look at Iron Man Stewart's Super Off-Road. Now, with Super Off-Road, like I said, it's a racing game. It has like a top-down, almost isometric look to it, kind of zoomed out. It looks like Super Sprint. If you remember Super Sprint, you'll know what this game looks like. The controls are pretty solid. The racing action is pretty standard fare. You outrun your opponents using jumps and mud pits and hills and stuff like that. Finding the quickest route around these courses for 5 laps. First one to the fifth to complete that 5th lap, or to complete that 4th lap, wins. And you get prize money. You use that prize money and those points to upgrade your truck at the end of every race. And yeah, the object of the game is obviously to outrun your opponent. Again, it really does feel like Super Sprint meets RC Pro-Am, to me at least. And I mean, comparing it to RC Pro-Am is high praise from me, because I regard RC Pro-Am and Rad Racer as the pinnacles of NES racing games. Again, I might be wrong, but that's my take on it. But yeah, this game was incredibly popular, and it was ported to a number of different platforms, from the ZX Spectrum to I want to say there's a Game Boy port, Genesis, Super Nintendo. There was a Super NES port of this, and then a few years later we got a Super NES exclusive Super Off-Road sequel of sorts in Super Off-Road the Baja, which felt completely 3D and ditched that semi-top-down view from this original game. However, both are fantastic games. Super Off-Road is a very good racing game, and because this one had a 4-player mode where 4 people could hook up a NES satellite or a 4-score, and everybody could play against each other, that adds another dimension to the fun factor in this game, because everybody was looking for a good party game, and the trash talk in a racing game makes for a good party game. But yeah, man. If you're looking for a copy of Super Off-Road, median price actually isn't that bad. It's about $9. You might find some as low as like $2 or $5, something like that. But $9 to $10 is the going rate. That's where you'll typically find copies sitting. And there are a lot of copies out in the wild. So if you don't find one at a low enough price, just keep looking. You'll definitely come across one. And if you got enough people around, you're sure to have a great time playing this game, because Super Off-Road is a fantastic game, even if none of us knew who Ironman Stewart was. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, so you know how I like to tell that story about how Journey to Silius was almost a Terminator game, but Sunsoft lost the license? This is where that license went.